Em sao thật sự nên ta vui cười cho ta nghe lại giúp tay không ai lại hay cao trong veo qua lòng chân sao tình yêu thôi ta xin chào và ta xin yêu xin tên nào để lấy chút hơi ấm của em xin đổi đi em tên nào xin tiếng những thứ trong ngày thèm với cả ngàn điều phù duyên được bao một thoáng đôi ngày đi bời để xem về ngày tôi không có nào đầu tiên ta mới thêm yêu còn khoảnh khắc và thương yêu dấu vào từng bản nhạc điểm ai nên tình nào là một món ăn tàn sắc nên sẽ như này một câu chuyện hàng năm
Nghiêng giữa trong mơ cùng tìm kiếm bao ý thơ để đắm say trong tiếng nhạc ru dâng hồn xa theo bước ta ngân ngơ dù ngàn kiếp ta vẫn chờ chỉ cần có phút giây được trao yêu thương because baby it's always you it's always you it's you it's always you it's always you it's always you. never higher ground. Can't see in front of me, my enemies and try to replace ability to know if I can bleed. If that's what you wanted, you won't get it tonight. Cause I can fly. I can fly. em là gì? Anh chỉ muốn là người đến sau nhưng sẽ là cuối cùng. Anh sẽ nắm tay em và đưa em đi qua những tháng năm buồn vui. Để đến cuối chặng đường anh sẽ
Spain opened up its borders for citizens outside of the EU that were able to come in for non-essential tourism. Basically, what you had to do was fill out a health form and have a vaccine card that was 14 days after your last jab for those vaccinations. They were accepting Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. There's been a lot of questions and discussion going on as well about if you needed a PCR test, even if you were vaccinated, how strict they were on those dates with the vaccination, and what exactly was the card that you could show to prove that you were vaccinated. And this just wasn't for the United States. This was for countries all over the world outside of the EU that had June 7th, Spain opened up its borders for citizens outside of the EU that were able to come in for non-essential tourism. Basically, what you had to do was fill out a health form and have a vaccine card that was 14 days after your last jab for those vaccinations. They were accepting Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. There's been a lot of questions and discussion going on as well about if you needed a PCR test, even if you were vaccinated, how strict they were on those dates with the vaccination, and what exactly was the card that you could show to prove that you were vaccinated. And this just wasn't for the United States. This was for countries all over the world outside of the EU that had these travel restrictions for non-essential travel. There has been, however, a list of countries that have been exempt from these restrictions to where these rules don't apply to them, where they don't have to show anything other than an FCS form to get into Spain. The UK joined that list on May 24th, and a month later, the US joins them. Starting June 24th, US travelers won't have to show any other paperwork besides that FCS health control form to get into Spain. So you can imagine my surprise and excitement this morning while having my coffee when I clicked on the BOE, the official bulletin that I've been using to update you guys on all the changes and the travel restrictions that have been going on, when I saw some changes to that list of exempt countries. As always, I want to show you guys the exact source that I'm using for this information, so I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to take a reference to it, but let's go check it out. Alright, so you can see the bulletin that was published Thursday the 24th of June 2021, and you have that original order that banned non-essential travel into the EU and to the Schengen. Specifically, we're talking about Spain here and the ability to modify or change the list of exempt countries. And the really interesting piece of information comes right here where it says on the 18th of June it was approved to modify that list, and now what you have is that Albania, Lebanon, Macedonia, Serbia, Taiwan, and the United States of America are all on that list of exempt from restrictions, which is some really good news for all you travelers out there that have really wanted to get over to Spain. Now you don't need to just be vaccinated. It looks like we don't have to have any of those other pieces of paper. You don't have to prove anything other than filling out that FCS form. But what's really interesting is that we come down to the different articles, and what you have is the change to that J clause, which is talking about those residents of those third countries. And here it tells you specifically what that means if you're coming over from those countries. You have to be coming directly from them. You also could be coming and have gone through another one of the countries that's on that list, or it even says that you've had a layover in one of the international airports, but originally coming from one of the countries on the list. The second part of that article is going to give us that new list, which before was 10 countries, now has been expanded to the ones that we've seen above, but now we have the full list right there, so you guys can see that Albania, Australia, Israel, Japan, Lebanon, New Zealand, Macedonia, Rwanda, Serbia, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, the UK, United States, and China all made that list. And you can see that it goes into effect the date of publication in the BOE, which is the 24th. So that means as of the 24th of June, Americans traveling over to Spain are exempt from those travel restrictions that we had before. And like I said before, I was really excited to see it. Don't know why it wasn't being talked about more. Don't know why I didn't see a lot of different information, and I don't know why I didn't see a lot of different articles. Maybe you guys have seen some more a little bit now, but what I did, as what I've always been doing, is I went and I checked out TravelSafe. I made a complete video detailing how to use TravelSafe in full. You can check that out right here, but it's something I can't recommend enough. So I went over to TravelSafe just to double check. And again, this is a tool that gives you all the information you need. That's great to know what you need to get over, but also if you need anything to get back home. Remember, Americans right now still need a negative antigen or a PCR test to get back into the country, but it also lets you know all the different restrictions according to the community. But if you go to the different countries, we select the United States, and it's going to pop up with this information that allows us to see the entry requirements into Spain. Important, the US is one of the countries exempt from temporary travel restrictions. The entry requirements into Spain. No health certificate is required for traveling to Spain. The US is one of the exempt countries. What we just saw with the BOE and what they announced this morning. And you can see that they updated this at 8:27 on the 24th. But number 2 is the health form, and that's the FCS health control form that we've been talking about. Again, if you have any questions about how to fill that out or need any more information about that, you can always ask a question, but also check out the link above that'll take you right to the video that I made about how to fill out that FCS form. That'll give you all the information you need and everything that you need to know to fill out that FCS form. Now that that's the only requirement for Americans traveling into Spain, it makes planning those trips a little bit easier. But remember, on the return flight, you are going to need a negative result for either a PCR or an antigen test to get back in within 72 hours before the flight. And while that is great news for Americans and everybody else on that exempt list who want to travel over to Spain this summer, remember what did happen on June 7th when they opened up to vaccinated tourists from all over the world. There was a lot of confusion, even at the check-in desk, when not all the airlines and not all of the personnel knew exactly what the new measures were, and some people had some complications in terms of showing those vaccine cards. There were a lot of questions on whether or not a PCR test was required as well, and if Americans could actually get into Spain at that time. It seemed like for a couple days there was a little bit of that confusion, and I wouldn't be surprised here within the next couple days if you guys are looking to book those flights if the same thing happened right now. So it's the one thing I urge for you guys to do yourselves. While there is a lot of constant change in terms of information and maybe even some miscommunication, One of the things that you guys need to do is stay up to date on exactly what you need. I'm going to try to leave all of the links and all of the information that you guys can find below that'll help you out and let you know, but you need to stay on top of all of the different restrictions or even the requirements that you might need while you're traveling. And if you're looking for any other information, remember you can always check out my playlist that's all about travel to Spain in 2021. It's going to give you information about not only travel safe, but filling out that FCS form or any other information that you might look at when you're coming over here that might help make that trip a little bit more smooth. But also